Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Shipless Tech Week 2023. I'm Julia. I'm here with my co-host Brenda, and we're going to make a quick presentation and call Elizabeth to start our very exciting week. Okay, let's just make a very quick presentation about Shipless Tech, about the cluster, about Louisiana Startup. Shipless Tech is a cluster about all about female empowering and female entrepreneurs and female startups. Usina is a venture builder, an accelerator, and internationalizator of companies, of startups, and we work to develop traditional technological businesses. We were founded in 2016 in Norway, and we are now located primarily in Brazil, but we have another very many other branches, like 10 other branches, like in Peru, in Chile, Uruguay, Germany, and Angola, and many other partners around the world. And Shipless Tech was created to focus only on startups created, founders, and run by women. And so this event was created to obviously promote the cluster, but also give voice to these amazing women that have business, not only startups, but work to develop female empowering all throughout the world. And so that's why we are here on our third edition. Our mission is very simple: it's just to empower and develop startups run by women, and that's our focus. And we have a global presence. We have a lot of foundation around diversity, around women with all different backgrounds, all different origins, and that's why we created this forum, this seminar, to give these women more voices, so they can just chat a little bit, just share a bit of their history, a bit of their knowledge, and give them voices. This is our third edition. We had the first Shipless Tech Week in March last week, and the Shipless Tech Day, which is a little bit shorter, in November last year. So this is the third edition. Brenda is our lovely co-host. She will be here helping me a lot, actually, and sharing a lot with me as well. I will give the floor now to Brenda so she can introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be sharing this event with all of you. And let's begin with the first panel, which is creating a business support networking. And as our speaker, we have Elizabeth de Castilho. She is a language teacher, tour guide, and managing director of the Fribourg Institute in Nova Friburgo, Rio de Janeiro. Thanks for being here, Elizabeth, and the floor is all yours. Uh, Elizabeth, we can hear you.
Can you?
I'd like try to ask.
Everything is okay from our part. We can see your screen. We can see that your mic is on, but the sound is not coming out. Angelique também já tá aqui.
You don't have like a headphone to try to choose the mic.
Just a little heads up, Elizabeth is connecting. She's having a little bit of a technical issues, but we're fixing it right now, okay? So just be a little bit patient. 2 minutes, please.
Well, guys, as we are having some issues with Elizabeth, we are going to present our next panel. We invert. And now let me introduce you to Angelique Williams, who will be taking the panel Conquering Your Top Ambition, How to Hit Your Goals Without Burning Out. She is an author, entrepreneur, startup ecosystem builder, and she also is a changemaker passionate about elevating queer voices. In 2018, she founded My Umbrella, which is an online platform that serves as a creative outlet for LGBTQ community members. And unlike other platforms, My Umbrella invites community members who want to share their stories and to join our Rhymes cohort. And their published work reminds us that we are not as lonely as we think we may be. And additionally, she was the founding lead of the Black Woman Talk Tech San Francisco, and she was selected to exhibit at Forbes Under 13 conference in 2018, and she in 2020 she became founding advice council and member for the Curve Foundation, an organization whose mission is to empower lesbian, queer women, and trans people, and non-binary people too, and to share their cultures and histories, trying to connect with each other and raise visibility. Before venturing into tech, she was an architecture designer, and also she's lead development member and affordable workplace housing projects in New York and also Bay Area. And Angelique holds a Bachelor of Architecture from California College of Arts and also a Master of Real Estate Development from Columbia University. And she was also honored in last year, June, issue of Essence Magazine Spotlight Queer Leaders. Thank you so much for your presence here, Angelique. The floor is all yours.
Angelique, hi, your mic is off. We can't hear you. I can hear a noise, but do you have an earphone, something like earbuds? So maybe that's a problem.
Still nothing? You can hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. I don't know what
Yes.
happened. I didn't do anything, but fantastic. All right.
Okay,
Now
let's go.
awesome. All right. I'm going to present and we're going to get this show on the road. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right. Everyone can see what we're doing here. I don't want to record, but we're going to present here. I don't want to do that. There we go. Okay. Now, thank you everyone for sitting through the technical difficulties. And thank you, Brenda, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Angelique Williams. A little bit about me, in addition to what Brenda shared. I'm a serial entrepreneur, advisor, amongst many things. Whenever I attend an event like this, I like to get to know the person that's speaking. So please allow me a couple of minutes to share more about myself. I've always been an overachiever. I made a 15-year plan when I was 10 years old. I took weekend and summer classes during high school. I worked part-time during my undergraduate studies and 3 part-time jobs during graduate school. I had 2 degrees by 23. I was the head of the most profitable business division at my company at 24. I bought a house at 27. And after all of that, I just wasn't happy. So I made another plan. I became obsessed with an idea that eventually became my startup, My Umbrella, and continued to work full-time. I drove for Lyft and Uber in evenings and on weekends to have money to continue to build my startup. I spent all of my free time building it piece by piece. And I found success in that plan. I finished the Founder Gym Accelerator program, was selected to exhibit at the Forbes Under 30 Summit, was in magazines, led groups, and I still wasn't happy. It wasn't until a freak accident happened that set me on the couch for 6 months, in excruciating pain. And all I could do was sit and think and analyze my life. I questioned the values I held on to, the beliefs, my goals, where I wanted to go next. I never came up with an answer, but I knew I couldn't continue on the path I'd been on. I needed a reset. I needed to set out to build a life that didn't drain me on the way to the top. In order to do that, I had to address my toxic ambition, which is the subject of our chat today. It's no secret that we live in a world that rewards success. Success is a powerful drug. When we're successful, whether it's getting an A on a final or getting a new job offer, our brain releases dopamine, also known as the happy chemical. Success can also reduce feelings of stress and give our ego and self-esteem a nice boost. But if this is true, why are so many successful people unhappy? As highly ambitious people, we typically want a quick fix when there's a problem. Slap a Band-Aid on it, and we're good. However, if we wish to understand and address the effects of toxic ambition, there is no silver bullet. It requires a much deeper look. 50% of founders are likely to report having mental health conditions or a likelihood to suffer from substance abuse and mental disorders compared to non-founders. But employees are also suffering. Burned out employees are 2/3 more likely to take a sick day, and over 20% will take a trip to the emergency room. With all of these facts and figures, it begs the question, how much ambition is too much? And where does it come from? To start, let's look at the general definition of ambition. A strong desire to do or achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. Nothing wrong with that, right? Earning a degree, getting a promotion, or starting a business doesn't come for people that just lay around all day. There's nothing wrong with wanting to achieve something, is there? In reality, this neutral or positive definition began in the 1600s. If we look more closely, the definition in front of us is the second entry. The first entry, an ardent desire for rank, fame, or power. In fact, in the 14th century, ambition derived from French and Latin words meaning eager or an inordinate desire for honor or preferment, and a striving for favor, courting, flattery, a desire for honor, thirst, and for popularity, respectively. Now, whether you agree or not, it was also associated with words such as pride, vainglory, and arrogance. And whether or not you see there's something wrong with the word's original use, let's look at what ambition gets us. It gets us recognition from peers, families, organizations. It opens doors and allows us into places where others cannot go. We can be looked at as a role model or a thought leader. And once again, it provides us a very nice confidence boost. But there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And I'd like you all to ask yourselves if you've ever felt any of these following. Hyper-focusing on a goal, the inability to enjoy the goal once you get it, or feeling like it didn't make you as happy as you thought it would. Suffering from imposter syndrome, or destructive behavior when things go wrong. What was once a desire to achieve a goal has now become a chore, a job, and at worst, a burden. It robbed us of our sleep, from being present in the moment, and the ability to slow down and assess how we're feeling about the path we've been following. It may show up like skipping your kids' games to work, denying yourself a vacation with your friends to work. Most commonly, we find ourselves seeking out flex moments to post on social media to gain recognition from our peers. All of this, again, bears the question, how much ambition is too much? To start, ask yourself if you have unrealistic expectations. Don't worry, you're not alone. We've all had unrealistic expectations, whether it's winning the lottery or convincing ourselves that we can make our crush like us. It's a part of what makes us human. Unrealistic or not, we all have expectations. They may stem from family, culture, social media, or from ourselves. But when we cling on to our expectations for dear life, they can cause depression, anxiety, cause us to self-medicate, self-criticize, and disrupt our relationships. So what do these unrealistic expectations look like? It can show up at work. And you can tell yourself, if you're the first one in and the last one out, you'll get that promotion. In social settings, because you're smart and funny, you think that everyone will like you. Or in relationships, you may think that nothing can go wrong in a new relationship. And the moment something does, you think that nothing can go right anymore. But here's the thing about expectations. We don't expect good things to happen to us. We expect exact outcomes as we have prescribed. A couple of secrets for you. You can't control every situation in life. All you can ever do is do your best and let the rest happen the way it's meant to. And two, you can only truly learn from mistakes. Unrealistic expectations are rigid and limiting. If you're risk averse, you may be robbing yourself opportunities to grow. So what do we do about this? Let's turn over our neck stone and assess our relationship with failure. Failure sucks. It can be upsetting, demoralizing, and a blow to our ever fragile egos. If you're a highly ambitious person and used to achieving your goals, you may feel that failure is always lurking in the shadow, a boogeyman to our dreams. Failure can make you feel helpless or hopeless. And one small incident can keep you from doing so many other things just because you're afraid to look stupid. It can alter our perceptions and make our goals feel more unattainable than before. And while we know that we can't be perfect, knowing better doesn't automatically mean doing better. For example, when learning a new language, it takes time and repetition for our brains to understand and make connections between the words we know in our native language and this new language. With an unhealthy relationship with failure, a simple mix-up, such as cochina, when you meant to say cocina, can cause you to feel like you'll never get it right, even when all the research surrounding language learning proves otherwise. When experiencing failure, try the following. Forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. Focus on the variables within your control. What can you do now that the failure has occurred? Remember that baby steps are still steps. A baby's first steps aren't the greatest, the most significant, or the most elegant. But the start of walking has begun. And soon, walking becomes running. Try to practice the same patience with yourself. And the last one may be a bit odd, but celebrate your failures. It's strange to think of that, considering that we're only taught to celebrate our successes. But think about if you stayed at that awful job or stayed with that toxic person. Weren't you happy when you were free from those situations? Make sure you acknowledge those moments on your journey of getting more comfortable with failure. It's also important to remember that failure and success are relative. Whatever situation you're in, ask yourself, how often do you feel successful in your everyday life? How do you react when people compliment you on your success? For example, someone says, "Congratulations on your product launch and recent fundraise." But the voice in your head says, "It's not even the version we wanted to launch with." Someone says, "You get to live in France now for work. What a dream." But you tell yourself, "My room doesn't look as advertised. I'm broke and I have no friends." Some dream. Give yourself some credit for the distance traveled and all the steps and hurdles it took for you just to get to the point that you're at right now. And again, you may be asking yourself, how can I enjoy my success? It is a challenge. And below are a few exercises that you can try. Share your successes with supportive people. Hopefully you have at least one person you can take the mask off with and let them see your thoughts and feelings beyond the social media posts and see your true feelings. Be open to new ideas and methods. Just because you were successful one way doesn't mean it's going to work with a new project. Work backwards from your goal. Instead of starting at step 10, start at step 10 and work your way down to step 1. Break your goal down bit by bit so it becomes easier to digest. And most importantly, be present. Stop and smell the roses. Work will always be there tomorrow. Okay, time for a quick recap. Thus far, we've talked about unhealthy expectations, our relationship with failure, and success. You mix all these ingredients together and you get the toxic cocktail known as perfectionism. From an early age, we're told that practice makes perfect. The challenge with this advice is that we're raised to focus on the outcome rather than the purpose. There are 3 types of perfectionism: personal standards that come from ourselves, self-critical perfectionism, which is when you're feeling intimidated or paralyzed by your own goals, or socially prescribed, someone whose profession demands excellence, or someone who's held to a high cultural standard. You want to know the secret of perfectionism? It's not even about achieving perfection, because we know perfection is impossible, but we try anyway. But why? That dopamine we discussed when we're successful plays a part in it, because perfectionism isn't about achieving perfection. It's about feeling perfect. Who doesn't want to feel perfect? Who doesn't want to feel like they're flawless? Ways to address this in our everyday lives can include showing a draft of what you're working on. Maybe you'll find it's already good enough, or you'll gain insightful feedback. Try something new. It could be as simple as learning how to roller skate or going to a painting event. Just try something and don't worry about being good at it. Create a checklist to track your progress. If you find that you've checked all the boxes and still aren't satisfied, ask yourself why. Identify your triggers. Are they avoidable? If not, create a plan for how to minimize their effects. Earlier, we talked about unhealthy expectations. The truth is that all expectations are typically rooted in pure things, which is our desire for our needs to be met. But we set ourselves up for failure when we confuse our expectations for our boundaries and use those words interchangeably. Expectations are external, where boundaries are internal. Expectations are specific, where boundaries allow for more flexibility. For example, you may find yourself let down and disappointed when someone doesn't meet your expectations, but hold strong when someone violates your boundaries. Why is that? When we set boundaries, we expect people to respect them. And we may have different boundaries, but we should respect each other equally. Because boundaries help us focus on what's and who is most important to us: our beliefs, our intuitions, our feelings, our choices, our wants, and our needs. As with goal setting, be careful when setting boundaries. Too loose, and they can lead to emotional drain, and we can absorb the emotions of others and disconnect from our own. Too rigid, and it can lead to loneliness or isolation, and it can fuel our fear of losing independence. But there's no one size fits all when it comes to boundaries. All you have to remember is that you are not responsible for how others react to you setting your boundaries, or making them feel better, or take responsibility for their actions that have violated your boundaries. You are only responsible for your feelings and your actions. When setting boundaries, you should really take all of these into account, but I really want to highlight knowing yourself. Before you set your boundary, get specific about what you want and why it's important. Don't assume. Even if someone has known you for years or your whole life, the only person that can hear the voice inside your head is you. Make the implicit explicit. Accept the truth and leave the rest. People let us down, and it sucks, but we can't get hung up on it or let it stop us. Don't punish. Boundaries are for our own protection and don't work if they're rooted in retaliation. And most importantly, start small. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your boundaries. Start small and work your way up. At the beginning of our session, I mentioned that there's no silver bullet to curing ourselves from ambition. But if we can identify where it stems from and be honest with ourselves about our wants and our goals and what they're truly rooted in, we can develop a healthy relationship with ambition. And now that we've started turning over these stones, how can we keep our ambitions in check? Ask yourself what drives you. For example, when I first graduated college, I needed to prove myself. I needed to succeed. I only chased jobs that put me somewhere bigger and better. And now I realize there's a lot of things I can do, but I ask myself things like, do I really want to? Do I care at all about what this company does? Does the job excite me? And yes, I can chase the money, but do I really want to run for it? And make no mistake, having ambition isn't a bad thing, but don't let it become so toxic that it steals you from the present. If you've enjoyed this session, as a founder, professional, or student, I encourage you to enroll in the online course to receive more tools to help you lead a more balanced life. You'll be provided with tools to uncover the root of your ambition through instructional video and worksheets, and provide a framework for healthy goal setting. We'll dive much deeper into some of the topics I've shared with you today, as well as others that I haven't. The course is offered both as a 6-week structured course or as an on-demand option. As a thank you for attending the session, I'm offering a 50% discount that's valid for the next 24 hours. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen or visit toxicambition.com and use the code below. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much, Angelique, for this amazing presentation. And we have actually a lot of questions. So
Great. Awesome.
we have, first of all, we have questions from all over the world. And the first one is from Maria from Uruguay. She's asking how to introduce your ideas to youth girls and change their lives.
How to present these ideas to youth girls. The biggest thing when presenting to any group is to make it relative to them. And so here we're all professionals, founders, chasing our big dreams. Really, the examples you use bring it down to what they're talking about. All of these methods are universal. It's just really about making it relatable to your audience.
We have also another question. I, I will quote Luciana. And it seems that the pressure is even worse than before for younger generations. The perfect successful life is expected to be achieved by the age of 25. How to deal with that and help young people? I think there's a theme going on with young people.
Yes. Yes, believe me, I was a maniac. I thought I was behind. And it doesn't help that we have articles and TV shows about people that got famous at 23 and retired at 27, and you're 41 and you feel like you've lost it. And yeah, the pressure is very intense. I have teenage nephews, and you know the biggest thing I think is for us that are older and can be a mentor or a guide is to not pretend like we're perfect. Because if you think about your parents or other adults in our lives, they pretended they're perfect. And then we grew up and realized, oh, no, you're not. You're just as bad as everybody else. And so the biggest thing is sharing those experiences with them and letting them know where you've come from, and letting them know that they're okay, and that they're going to be just fine going at their pace. But again, always remind them that they're not behind. It is okay to breathe. And again, just really work and sit down and ask, why do you feel so much pressure? Is it because of your peers, or is it because something you want to do? Because those are very different. Those are very different drivers.
I think I can speak for Brandon and me. We're both under 25, so we have this pressure a lot as well. And Brandon, you have one more question, I think.
And this is actually like a personal question. And thank you for your presentation. It was like amazing. And like as you said, we have like this goal and we try to achieve this perfectionism, but like it's something that I think we are taught since we are child. And how do you see like a way to break this cycle? Like when I have a niece, how I can break this to don't put so much pressure on her.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's I talk with my peers and my friends about this a lot, especially with children. It's a very delicate balance to push them to be great, pump them up, and keep them humble so that they don't crash and burn at the first sign of failure. And I learned this the hard way because my parents, bless them, let me try everything, but let me quit if I didn't like it. So I still can't do a cartwheel. I will never go to gymnastics. I don't like karate. I don't like Girl Scouts. I did all these things once. Okay. So just to be clear, I had to learn this the hard way. And with my nephews, what I really try to emphasize is one, he plays soccer. And so, he's a striker. So scoring goals, penalty kicks are very, very critical and crucial to your identity. And I tell him all the time, you have to have a short memory. That play was bad. That call was bad. You can't let this stop you. You have to keep on moving. You have to keep doing this. Um, and the other thing is really acknowledging the frustrations of what's happening, because it's easy to just be say, oh, continue, you'll be fine. Go, just keep doing it. You'll be fine. Just keep practicing. You're gonna be fine. But really acknowledging, hey, this is hard. Let's sit down and talk about what's going on, what's really happening. But with kids, especially, it's their egos and feelings are so fragile. And I think as adults, whether it's as an aunt or a parent or anything, we tend to react in terms of how we feel about it versus thinking about how they're feeling and coming down to their level of what's really going on. Like, I'm not going to be mad. That's what I start with. I'm not going to be mad. Don't worry about how I'm going to react. Just tell me what's really happening so I can help you. And so I think humanizing ourselves to the younger people around us really goes a long way to building that trust and allowing them to share their failures or share their stresses.
Thank you so much, Angelique. That's it for the question. Thank you so much for being here, for having a little bit of patience with the technical different.
It's okay. It happens.
It happens. It happens. A live event, everything goes wrong at once. But thank you so much, and I hope you stick around for to watch. And we are live at YouTube right now. We have more than 1,000 people with us, and you're more than welcome to participate and watch the rest of the day. And
Fantastic. And I will provide the code via a link for all the attendees that didn't get it the first time. Great, awesome. Thank you for having me.
thank you,
Thank you.
Brenda.
Okay, now let's go back to our next panel. Thank you, Priscilla, for being here. Priscilla is, just a moment, let me see my, um, she is the CEO and co-founder of, no, just a moment. Me embolei um pouco. She's professor. She has PhD and master degrees in both business law and economic activities at the State University of Rio de Janeiro. She is founding partner at Priscilla Menezes Associate Law Firm, and she's a lawyer and legal advice in business and commercial law and innovation. She especially works with company law, trademark, and blockchain-based business models. And since 2013, she has been a professor at the Superior School of Propaganda and Marketing (ESPM), and since 2018 at the Institute of Society and Technology. She is also a volunteer teacher at Black Justice Association, and since 2015 she teaches commercial law. Thank you so much for being here, Priscilla, and the floor is all yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Brenda. Good morning, Julia, and everybody in the event. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'd like to, first of all, to thank Startup Plant for promoting this event in this very special week of the month when we celebrate Women's International Day. And I'd also like to thank my university, SPM, for pointing me for the event. And I'm going to share a presentation with you, if that's okay. Can I share some slides?
Yes.
Right. I think it's going to be easier to follow the ideas because sometimes when we are talking about legal aspects, people maybe feel a bit lost. So let me see this. Let me choose the. Here we are. Is it on the screen? Is it okay?
Yes, we can see everything.
Oh, brilliant, because I cannot see you anymore when I'm sharing the screen. So feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions or if I need to explain any details better. So Brenda has introduced me. Thank you, Brenda. And well, there is something I'm very proud of is that in my law firm, we are all female lawyers. So this is who we are. Actually, I have to update a picture because now we are 7. We just hired a new lawyer last week. And I'm very happy to join you in this event today because I'm also a female businesswoman, an entrepreneur. So I have been to law school. Nobody told me that running a business, a law office was a business. So I had to find that by myself. So I had my struggles. I had, it's like we call a self-made woman. I have to learn it by myself. So I understand the struggles and the difficulties. So it's really very nice to be here with you this morning. Well, the subject I have chosen for our meeting today is what you have to know before starting a business in Brazil. You probably heard that our legal system is a little bit complicated, and because we just have half an hour, I have chosen the 3 main topics that I believe will be extremely helpful for beginners who are starting to develop a business right now, or if you already have a business running, maybe you have committed one or more of these mistakes and you can fix them just in time. But before I tell you what are these three topics that I have chosen for our meeting today, I'd like to tell you a very short story about entrepreneur abilities. And I was thinking, well, which stories are going to illustrate better what I want to tell those women? And these two men are the stories I have chosen. And the first one on your left, the elderly man, his name is Ronald James Reed, and he died at the age of 92 years old, and he has been a cleaner for most of his adult life. And why is he famous? Why am I talking about him? When he died, his photograph and his history, they were all over the news, newspapers, television, and magazines. And why? He left $8 million when he died, and he was a cleaner most time of his life. He left 2 million for his family, and 6 million he split between the hospital and the library in the city he was living. And he was just an ordinary man. He had a very modest life, and he accumulated $8 million. The other man on your right on the screen, wearing a fancy suit, his name is Richard Fuscon, and he was a former CEO at Merrill Lynch Bank of America. He went to Harvard School, he had higher education, and he was the CEO of a bank. So you can imagine the amount of money he was making. And he decided to build a mansion. It wasn't a house, it was a big mansion with 11 bathrooms, 2 large swimming pools, 2 elevators in the same house, 2 elevators, 7 garages. Just to keep this house, he had to spend $90,000 every single month. And then we had the crisis of 2008, and Richard Fuscon went bankrupted. This big mansion I'm talking about, it was sold to pay the creditors. So why am I telling you the stories of these two men? Because businesses and investments, they are the only areas where somebody non-educated that comes from no rich families can be well succeed. If you want to be a great doctor, you have to go to med school. If you want to be a good lawyer, you have to go to law school. But if you want to build a business that is solid, a great business, you don't have necessarily to have higher education. You don't have to come from a rich family. An ordinary person can build something absolutely amazing. What are the differences between these two men? Their behavior, for sure. Because Ronald James, despite he was making money, you're probably asking yourself, but how a cleaner accumulated all this money? Stock market. But even when he was making a lot of money, he wasn't expending everything, he was saving. And the CEO was just building mansions and buying expensive cars. So the main difference between them is behavior, emotional control, and you must have a strategy. Successful business women have a strategy, and you will focus on your strategy. And the legal aspects, they have to be part of your strategy, of your business strategy. There is a myth that lawyers are unaffordable. They are extremely expensive. Only rich people have lawyers. This is a lie. This is not true. Law firms, as I said previously, they're business. And we have large law firms that are very expensive. We have medium and small law firms. You just have to find one that suits your pocket and your budget. But legal advice is vital for a healthy business. Yeah, that's the first thing I have I want you to have in mind. I need you to have in mind. So the three topics that I have chosen for our conversation today are why it's important for you to incorporate your company, the care you need to have with your brand, with your trademarks, and about the habit of signing contracts. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into these three topics. And if you please feel free to ask any questions at any time. Yeah. Well, probably you are wondering, why should I care about incorporating my own company? Because many entrepreneurs, they'll tell me, oh, Priscilla, I don't want to incorporate a company right now because I don't want to put money in advance. I want to first validate my ideas and my business model. I want to validate my product in the market. And if everything is okay, then I'm going to go formal. Well, you are doing things the wrong way, I'm sorry to tell you. Why should you have your company incorporated before going into the market? Or if you are informally in the market, why you should worry about incorporating your company as soon as you can? First of all, because of patrimonial responsibility. If you are informally developing any kind of economic activity and anything goes wrong and you don't have enough money to pay your creditors, the creditors, they can satisfy the debits in your personal assets. So, for instance, if you have suppliers, okay, and you're not paying your suppliers, they can get your personal assets to satisfy the debit. And I'm talking about your car, I'm talking about a beach house, I'm talking about financial investments that you may have in the bank. When you do incorporate a company, in the eyes of the law, you have two different persons. You have the company and you have you, like a natural person. So a company legally is a person different of you. A company has its own name, its own trademark. A company has its own address. So in case anything goes wrong, the creditors of the company, they are not your creditors. Of course, if you're not committing fraud. Yeah. We have a few exceptions for that. Usually, regularly, the debits of a company, they are not debits of their partners, unless we are talking about exceptions like tax law or labor law, but they are exceptions. Regularly, the debits of a company, they stay with the company. And if the company cannot pay, that's the risk of the business who was doing business with you. That's the risk. Okay. So the first reason why you should incorporate your company is to split. It's to separate patrimonial liability. And that's really extremely important. The second reason is that when you incorporate a company, you have formality. You can send your clients invoices to charge them for your services or for your products. You can make a contract under your company's name, and you look definitely more professional. Yeah. Many clients, they come to me and they say, oh, Priscilla, I got a new client. I'm about to sign an extremely good contract. Can you incorporate my company in 2 or 3 days? I'm sorry, no, I can't. And it's not because I don't want to help you. It's because we depend on governmental bureaus. They have their own dates to do things, and it's not as quick. Unfortunately, doing business in Brazil, it's not so quick as in other countries. And you have to be aware of our reality. So the third reason why you should separate your business from your person, your natural person, it's because of tax rates. You probably heard that Brazil tax system is one of the most complicated and expensive on earth. I'll give you a very simple example. Usually, a natural person, pays 27.5% of taxes over incomes. If you have a company, we have a simplified process, and you can start, depending on the activity you are developing, you can start in 4.5%. So instead of paying 27.5%, you can start in 4.5%. When it comes to taxes, this is a huge difference. Of course, we have different levels, different rates. We have 6.5, 8.5, and so on. It goes up and up and up, depending on how much you're making in cash, depending on the activity you are developing. But in Brazil, companies pay less taxes than a natural person. And you have to know that. So you save money. Okay, so this is extremely important. And you have to be ready for opportunities as they come. You don't wait for the opportunity and then you get ready. For instance, when you are about to have visitors, have guests in your house, you probably worry about, oh, I have to clean the house, I have to organize everything, I have to be ready for my guests. You're not cleaning the house with people sitting on your sofa in the living room. That's the same with your company. You do not expect your clients or opportunities to come. You organize your company, you organize your living room in your company, and then you get the clients, and then you get the contracts, and then you grab the opportunities. All right? That's the idea. So, moving on. The second point I'd like to talk to you about, and this is my everyday in the office. Mind your brand. Your trademark is how the market, the clients, and the partners, they see your product or they see your service. Okay? So it's something really important, especially nowadays when it comes to online presence. We care about social media. We have presence on Instagram and TikTok. Some business, they have their own websites or land pages, at least. You have an email account. But what do you usually forget? You forgot about your brand. And maybe you're thinking, Priscilla, no, I didn't forget about my trademark. I have a logo, very well designed, very fancy, and I use this brand in all my communications. Yes, I know you're probably worried about having a logo designed, but my point is this logo under registration? Because if it's not, you are doing it very wrong, and there are consequences. We basically have two kinds of problems when it comes to brands. Or, problem number one, you designed a very nice logo and you don't look for a lawyer to make the registration. Somebody else comes, copies that, and makes the registration first. By law, the person who asks for the registration before has the right. We have a few ways of trying to get you the right to keep using this brand, but the person who asked before has an advantage legally. The second problem is you are using a logo and then you get a notification by someone who has previously registered that name or that logo, and then you have to stop using that. And when you have to stop using that, force it by law, you have to communicate to your clients and suppliers. You have to communicate the market. Why are you changing your brand? You have to create a whole very good storytelling to justify that, because you cannot say, oh, guys, I was illegal and now I'm just trying to correct things. You cannot say that. Despite, this is the truth. You have to create a very nice new brand and a very nice story to explain. So, what's the correct way of doing that? Of course, your business needs a visual identity. It's vital for your business. It's how your clients and the market and everybody will see you, will remember you. So, what should you do? Get a designer and get a lawyer, because the correct way of doing that, the lawyer is going to verify there is a national database, and the lawyer is going to verify if that name and that logo is available. If it's available, green light, we'll start the process of registration. If it's not available because somebody else has the registration before you, the lawyer is going to tell you, change it. And then you're going to talk to the designer. Oh, I need to change it. And then you're going to have a brainstorm with your partners and your fellow mates to create a new name, a new logo, whatever. And then you send it to the lawyer again so the lawyer can check again. So people, in most cases, the lawyer is just at the end of the line. They just remember us when they are in trouble. People who are use it to create businesses, they have already learned. But newcomers into the market, it's a very common mistake. Sometimes this mistake is because you are looking for the wrong professional. When it comes to company incorporation, that was my first topic. To lower the expenses, many business people, they go for accountants. Accountants can open companies. It's not a problem. It's their expertise to do that. But if you are talking to an accountant to open a company for you, to incorporate a company for you, they are not lawyers. So they are not thinking about your whole business. So they are not thinking about your trademark. When you ask a lawyer to incorporate your company, a lawyer will have an holistic vision of your business. So a lawyer will make you the company incorporation, and they work together with the accountant. Don't get me wrong. It's very important to have the legal and the accountant working together, each professional in their fields, in their areas of expertise, but they have to work as a team. So what happens is usually accountants, they try to do things that lawyers should be doing. And the client, you don't know. You get confused. You want to just run your business. But when you have legal advice, the lawyer who is assisting you is going to have an holistic vision of your company. And certainly this lawyer will ask you, how about your brand? Let's have this trademark done correctly. So this is extremely, extremely important for your business, yeah, to avoid creating a storytelling to justify a change of visual identity. All right? So my third topic is about contracts. In Brazil, as a nation, we are extremely informal in all our relations. And of course, it comes to the same informality when it comes to businesses. And people like to trust each other's words. And what's the problem with that? When everything's okay, it's brilliant. But on the first problem you have, when discussions rise, where is the contract? What was the deal? What was the date? What was the price? What was the tax? How was the division? So basically, if you have a firm, you have many stakeholders dealing with you on a daily basis. So you have your clients, you have your partners, and when I say partners, can be partners in your company or commercial partners, yeah? You also have your suppliers and your employees, or people who are collaborating with your company. So I'd like you to see contracts as an insurance for you. Because when the problems they start coming, it's very comfortable to have a piece of paper or a screen in case of digital contracts. It's very comfort to have a document where you can look, oh, yes, on clause 5, this is this, and that. On clause 7, this is this, and that. It's safe for both parts involved. It's not only beneficial for your company, it's always a safe system for a client, for your employee, and it makes things clearer. So in case you have to go to a trial, you have to sit in front of a judge, and you have a piece of paper, you have a document that is the base of that relationship. I'm probably thinking, oh, but I cannot afford a lawyer on a daily basis to send me every piece of paper that I'll need, because I'll need contracts with many people. Listen, if you have employees, you're probably not hiring and dismissing them every day, right? You're probably not doing that. Your turnover can't be that high. If you are hiring people and dismissing them weekly, there is something really wrong with your culture. And that's another conversation. But usually, you don't need to sign employees' contracts every day. So this is really easy. You can have a sample. You can have a template. Yeah, that's really easy. And oh, Priscilla, I just have one employee. Yeah, that's a good practice. You have the contract with this only one employee. Yeah, and don't forget, you have to worry about privacy, information, about confidentiality. Yeah, about their jobs, what do you expect them to do, the time they're going to work. All this must be in contract. So you can have a template for that and use this template for the next employees that you're going to hire. For your suppliers, it's just the same. You can have a different template for suppliers. When it comes to partners, if they are partners in your company, you have 50% and you have more two partners that have 25% each. There is a difference because you have a public contract that is the incorporation of your company. Everybody can see that if they pay a fee, but everybody can see that. It's like a birth certificate for a company, the acts of incorporation. And many people stop there, acts of incorporation, but this is public. You probably have deals with your partners that you don't want everybody else to know. Maybe it's important for you to split the obligations and responsibilities of everyone in the company. Maybe you have a private deal with your partners. So it's important to have this in documents. It's important to have these deals signed, especially when you want to leave the company or when you want to buy the shares of your partners, or when your partners want to sell their shares to a third party. So everything that's written, it's a proof, and it's easier to deal with that situation in case of problems in the future. Because believe me, problems come. Sooner or later, they will come. It's absolutely normal in a company, especially if it's a family-based company. Well, and with your clients, of course, if you sell products, if you sell services, it's always a template. So you do realize that most of the time you'll be dealing with templates. So you can have a lawyer to draft these templates with you, and then you can just replicate them. It's not that difficult. Oh, Priscilla, but now my business is really big and I need somebody to make the contracts for me. I cannot do it by myself because I have to be focused on my businesses. Okay. If your business is growing big, you can hire a law office or an employee just to work on the contracts. Maybe you can hire a lawyer just for yourself. Maybe it happens. But it's extremely important for you to make all the relationships around your company more formal. And there is a benefit that when you have a proposal for a client, when you have, they say yes for your proposal, and then you present a contract, when you send an invoice for the payment, you look formal, professional, organized, and you probably charge more for your products and for your services. This client is going to have a better experience with you because of the whole organization in every step of the way. So it's only benefits. It's not going to harm you. It's only benefits, and it's safe for you. It's safer to work in this way. So everything that I'm telling you, it has to do with legal aspects. Yeah? So you must have strategy, execute this strategy, because many people, they stop there. They have the ideas. Okay, I have draft the strategy, but they don't make the next step. They don't put in practice. Okay, so it's important to, as we say, take it out of the paper, take your ideas out of your mind, because if you have a strategy, if you are legally safe, you are going to achieve success. Sooner or later, be patient. It will happen. If you do everything right, it will happen. So, to recap, the main ideas you have to worry about if you're starting a business, if you already have your business, you are going to organize yourself to incorporate your own company, and you can do it by yourself. The Brazilian legislation has been changing a lot over the last 4 years. You do not need to have a partner to have a company. You can do it by yourself. Doing that will protect your personal assets. Okay, you create this separation between your person and the person of the company. You are going to register your brand, and this is ASAP. Extremely important. Your brand is how the market, the clients, the suppliers, and everybody sees your business. It's your face. It's extremely important to have your brand registered, your trademark. Yeah. And you are going to make your relations, the relations of your company, more formal. All these topics, ladies, they are to protect your company, to make your business safer. Yeah? Well, that's everything I wanted to tell you in this short meeting. I hope I have helped you or enlightened a few of your ideas, and I am available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. We have a lot of questions, actually. And when you talk about law in Brazil, people are like, we need all the details. There's no, we need to dissect. And the first question is from Maria. She has a fintech in Uruguay, and she is asking, you think that Portuguese language can be a problem to the internationalization, and how to solve that barrier?
If Portuguese language can be a problem for what?
For coming, she has a company in Uruguay. If she wants to open the company here,
no, if you have a, it depends on what you want to do with your business, right? Because all the legal documents, they must be in Portuguese. So you're probably going to need a lawyer to draft these documents in Portuguese for you. The conversation, it's not going to be a problem, but we have two ways of doing that. If she can understand Portuguese, because sometimes people do not speak Spanish, but they can understand it, and they cannot speak Portuguese, but they can understand it in reading, or talking very slowly. If she can read in Portuguese, it's not going to be a problem. But if she doesn't understand, I would advise her to get the paperwork officially translated. Because if you're going to sign paperwork in a language that you do not understand, you have to be very careful with what you're signing. And that's a problem, can be a problem. But if you can read in Portuguese, I think that's okay. So if you are coming to Brazil, all the paperwork in Portuguese. That's the first thing. If you have a fintech and you are offering your services in Brazil, it depends. If you have the kind of business that we call B2B, business to businesses, if you're partners, commercial partners, you probably can ask them to make negotiations in Spanish or in English. Not a problem when it comes to B2B models. If you are offering businesses to clients, to final consumers, what we call B2C, you will have to use the Portuguese because your final consumers are Brazilians. So you have to use Portuguese, and then it's a whole different thing. But it all comes at the end, all comes to if you are going to offer your product to companies or to consumers, if you can read in Portuguese or not. I think I have answered. Maria, if you have more doubts, just please let me know.
And I will add to your answer because this is our main job. This is our bread and butter. So contact us. We will help you with everything you need. Coming to Brazil, translations, lawyer, marketing team. Contact us in our social media and in our emails, and we're more than happy to help you with all of your questions. And we have one more, and Luciana is asking, taking taxes into account, is it better to start from the very beginning as a company, which no matter what category, or paying taxes as a natural person? I think she's referring to pessoa jurídica, pessoa física.
Yes. Listen, we have a special figure in Brazil that is, we call it MEI, but it's MEI. That it's like a micro entrepreneur. Yeah. So if you want to try it first, you can register yourself as a MEI, this MEI, and you are going to have a separation between your natural person and this MEI. It's a good start, but what's the only issue? This MEI, it's a micro entrepreneur. It's very special for some kind of activities. So the first thing we have to know is what to do, and we have to check if your activity is on this list to be MEI. If it is, it's a wonderful start for you. And then, oh, Priscilla, that's nice. That's my business. I found my way. I'm growing big. You can make a transformation and actually incorporate a company. If your activity is not on this list and you already have a volume of money and clients, I advise you to incorporate a company, because as natural persons, we have different rates of tax incomes. So it starts, well, we have the zero. Nowadays, I think it's up to 2,000 reais every month. If you up 2,000 and then you start paying the taxes, but we're starting 12.5, 15.5, and then up. If you're making more than 5,000 every month, you are on that horrible level of 27.5%. So it all depends if your activity is on the list, so you can become a MEI, and the amount of money you are making monthly. If you're making more than 5,000, definitely it's better to incorporate your company to save tax payments.
Okay, and we have one last question, and it's about the resistance. We have a lot of resistance here in Brazil, companies and people in general, because we only seek lawyers when there is a problem. We don't have the culture of maintaining a lawyer throughout your life, your business life, and your entrepreneur life. How do you think we can change that culture to adapt our minds and say, like, we need a lawyer all the time. It doesn't matter the cost. It's a necessity that I need, not only when I have a problem.
That's actually a wonderful question. And that's what I'm trying to do over the last 15 years. Explain to people that, listen, one of the main things is nowadays I'm not a court lawyer. When I graduated, I used to go to court, but I don't like it because court is a big problem that people could not fix before. So what I do nowadays, I prefer to work with people before the problems start. People usually just learn after a big problem when I tell them, listen, if you had come before, I would be able to help you. And that would be less expensive. So I think it's cultural. I think that also has to do with the formation of lawyers because at law school, traditional law schools, I studied in a federal law school, we don't learn to negotiate. We don't learn to mediate conflicts. We learn how to fight in court. They teach how to fight in court during 5 years. So when we graduate, we are like, we're in a duel, you know? So it's a mentality. Now it's changing. Graduations are more concerned about fixing problems before going to court because the court cases are much more than judges can handle in a reasonable time. So if you go to court, you take on average between 5 and 8 years to have your case heard and finished. Sometimes I take 5 months, 8 months, a year in a negotiation, and then I fix a problem in a year. There is something else. A judge, he went to law school. He doesn't understand about your business. So you are giving the power to a third person that knows nothing about your business to decide about it. It can be a horrible decision. And people will be appealing. You know the drill. So it saves money, it saves time, and if you have a lawyer to talk to on a daily basis, you get guidance, so you avoid silly mistakes that can cost you time and more money. So what I talk to my clients is legal advice is an investment that will avoid problems in the future. But the question is really good and it has to do with culture. And cultures, they change, but it takes a lot of time.
Thank you so much, Professor Priscilla. And some people on our YouTube are asking for our contacts. I think you're very popular. We're at our height of audience right now. Over 1,000 people are watching you speak. So thank you so much for being here. And please,
I'll just leave my Instagram, and you can reach me on Instagram. It's underline Priscilla Menezes, and it's going to be a pleasure to give you some guidance on a daily basis and give you some tips. So I really appreciate the event, Startup Plans. Really, congrats. It's a wonderful event. I was really happy to join you and to talk to all the ladies in this such amazing week. And you have more days to come with wonderful lectures. So good luck with that. And I hope you all have a great week.
thank you so much, Priscilla.
See you. Bye-bye. Have a nice event.
And we're at 1,100 people right now with us. And I'm gonna pass the words to Brent to introduce our next speaker.
I'd like to thank you, Priscilla, for the speech. And the next panel is creating a business support network. And our speaker is Elizabeth de Castilho. She's a language teacher, tour guide, and managing director of the Friburgo Institute in Nova Friburgo, Rio de Janeiro. Thank you for being here, Elizabeth. We are like happy that all the technical problems were solved, and the floor is yours. So we have internet connection problem, but she is going to be here in a few minutes.
So, since Elizabeth is joining us very briefly, I just want to say please follow us in all the social media on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, because we do events like this all the time. And T plus Tech Week is on March because of the Women's International Day, and we have another a follow-up event in November, as a T plus Tech Day. Então, so we please follow us, and we do live streams every now and then, and especially in Instagram. But we're joining for the first time. We're doing actually a live stream in LinkedIn because it's a platform we hadn't explored yet. So we're having a lot of good feedback. So I think we're gonna continue with LinkedIn live streams as well. But Elizabeth, I think she's ready to join us right now. And just see. Elizabeth, we can hear you. Hello.
Hi, girls. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you need us to
Hey, girls. Can you hear me?
hear you loud and clear? Yes. Do you want us to share your presentation?
Loud and clear. Finally, finally. Okay. Yes, please, if you can help me.
Okay. You can start, and I will share the slides.
Okay. So, may I start?
Yes.
I think the internet. Okay. All right. Yes. Sometimes the internet connection here is not so well.
It's all right.
Okay. So, thank you. So, good morning to everyone. I am Elizabeth de Castillo, and I am at school. I am a teacher, so you may hear some students' noise a bit. First of all, I would like to thank you, Usina de Startup, Angela Gramático, Léo Amarela. Thank you, girls, for helping me. Yes. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story. I'm very excited to be here. And I would like just to share a little bit of my story. Okay? Yes. Next slide. This is a popular African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child, and I used another one from Afong Williams. It takes a village to raise a business. So what does it mean? It means that for us to grow our network, we need our families, we need our friends, we need our colleagues, we need our village. So if you want to start a business, we need everybody. Well, when I was a teenager, I told myself that one day I would communicate to people from other countries in their languages. And I started studying English and then French and then Spanish. And I became a teacher. I became an English and French teacher. And I always wanted to share my knowledge and to learn from other people's knowledge. And but during my teacher life, I didn't see me as an entrepreneurship, as a businesswoman. I work in public schools, but I also teach English and French and Portuguese to foreigners in private classes. So I didn't see myself because I still a little bit shy, and I believed that network was only that practice makes perfect. So I started to challenge myself to build a network, to talk to people, to go to some events, to learn from people. And I started changing my mindset. And I believe it helped me to arrive where I am today, here talking to you. You can change the slide, girls. Thanks. Okay. So you can go to the next one, please. Yeah. And also, talking about the imposter syndrome, it's also another thing that I believe we, not only women, but we people, we face. Because sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. We don't see ourselves as capable of as entrepreneurs. People like to hear stories and to share experiences. In the past, I believed that I was so small that I didn't have a business, that people wouldn't like to hear me. But on the contrary, nowadays I can understand that it doesn't matter if we are small, if we are medium, or if we are a big business. Everybody learns from each other, and we are sharing every day. As a teacher, I share with my students and I learn a lot from them. I also work with tourism as a tour guide, and I also learn a lot from the tourists who come from other cities, who come from other countries, and who bring their stories with them. And I became understanding and believing that I am a business. It doesn't matter if I am big or small or medium, but I am a business. And I need to put on all my energy and my effort on it to develop it more, to achieve more people. So it's a way, it's a long way to learn, to understand, to believe in ourselves. But it's a valuable way. It's a way that we can do it. We really can do it. And you can change, girls, please, the next slide. I believe that a valuable network, it is when it is shared value. We exchange value to other people, because otherwise it can be a network that it's not going to take too long. And I believe the the biggest goal is to make it worth and to make it last longer. And this network, as I told you in the beginning, it comes first from us. We have to believe, we have to do it, we need to do the first step to get the first step. And after, our families, our colleagues, our friends from school, from our jobs. They will help us spread the good news. They will help us in this network to support our network. I believe that a network, it can build the social capital. And with the social medias nowadays, we can see it very clearly. And a network, it can lead us to a greater collaboration because we can find other people who are doing uh, similar activities as we do, and we can exchange experiences. But also, it gives us credibility. So a network can really change this supportive network can really change our lives, can really change our businesses. Okay. And I would advise you to optimize the use of networks. Sometimes, even with our neighbors, nowadays we have, I think, almost everybody has a life that is from job to our home, from our home to our job. But we need just some time out to talk to our neighbors, to talk to our family, to increase the quality of time we have with these people that are from our network. A network, it also funds the emotional support. We had the pandemics, and we could notice we couldn't go out, we needed to stay home, sometimes alone, but we could communicate through the social media. And if we have a supportive and a strong network, it helps us emotionally, not only in our businesses, but also emotionally. You can change for the next, girls, please. Okay. And the quality of networks, it will bring us the most powerful tool available to scale our businesses, but also emotionally, it will make us more powerful to move on, to continue to go on this road. So if we focus on the network, the rest will follow us. The rest will come. The rest will happen. So we really need this strong network to make our life stronger, but also to make our businesses stronger. But do not forget, as I told you before, I believe the very first network that we have and we need is to be ourselves. We need to be our real selves, and we need to believe in us, because the first step is on us. So it's our responsibility to see, to understand, and to go, to start, to understand that we are powerful and we can do it. So throughout my life, I started changing this mindset, and as I told you before, I work also with tourism, and I could learn also that in tourism, it's also another kind of business, and I learn a lot there in tourism, because we need really to, as being a teacher, both activities, we need to start, we need to organize, we need to have our objectives, our goals, what we want to do, to whom we are talking to, how can we achieve these people, and later on we have to evaluate, to check if we really achieved, if we need to change a little bit our road, the way we are leading things. So both activities taught me this about planning, about checking after if it really worked. And nowadays, I am the director of Casa Suíça de Nova Friburgo. It is a volunteer job. I give some hours of my week to this institution. It's a cultural and touristical institution, and we develop there the Swiss principles and a Swiss culture. And it is also another place that I believe some years ago I would not accept this challenge to be there. I am the only woman, and I have a group, a staff that work with me, and all of them, they are men. They help me a lot, but of course, sometimes I have to face some situations as being a woman. If I was a man, I wouldn't face this situations. But it's been teaching me also a lot about administration and how to uh, uh, build other kinds of networks and talk to other people, talk to other many levels of social levels and also economic levels. So this activity is also teaching me a lot how to treat with people, how to organize things, how to uh, reach more people being the director of this institute. So these are my words. I am available to any questions you may have. And I would again to say thank you to Zina de Startup and Angela, Leo, and the girls. And thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And there's a lot of love in the chat right now. People are loving it. People are totally identifying with everything you said. And that's really a lot of love. People are like, yeah, I feel the same. So I have a question. And connecting with
Okay.
you said a little bit because there's a lot of people that have a lot of difficulties to. They're introverts. They have are shy. Not only shy. The people are introverts. They have a lot of difficulties to socialize in general. And you work with kids. You teach. You have all these um, more methods to incentivize, create a better relationship from a young start. And what advice, what technique do you think people can utilize in their lives to break the shell, let's say, come out a little bit more and then socialize a little bit more?
Yes. Well, first of all, we need to be ourselves. First, the first thing, we need to be ourselves, we need to be real, and we need to believe in ourselves. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, maybe we won't break the shell, or we will break half of the shell. So it won't work very well. And another thing is, if we do not break the shell, life will provide it for us. So it may be in a way that it can be a little bit harder. So I believe if we ourselves we break the shell by believing on us, it's a little bit easier. It's not very easy. It's a little bit hard. It causes you tears on your eyes and fear, but we need to repeat every day to ourselves. I try to tell this to my students because as students from public schools, I was a public school student. Sometimes we do not believe that we are capable, that this is for us. We believe, no, this is not for me, this is for another person who is more talkative or who is more beautiful or who is another thing. But we need to believe it. We need to repeat every day to ourselves, I am capable, I can reach it, I can be there. This is for me. I can reach there. And when I reach there, I will check if I want to be there or if I want to change to go to another place or to another business. But first of all, I tell my students, you must be yourselves, you must believe in yourselves.
Yes, thank you very much, Elizabeth. And I just want to thank you for your amazing, for your patience, actually, because we had a lot of difficulties, technical difficulties.
No problem. I
And
would like to say sorry because
no,
I
no
had
problem.
many technical problems.
No, no, no. And
And this is just to interrupt you a little bit, and this is another thing. I was here and I almost started crying because I said, oh my God, I do not know anything about technology. Of course I know a little bit, but I don't know how can I do it, how can I overcome this. And suddenly I asked one of my students, and in 5 minutes he helped me and everything worked. And I learned. I wasn't shy to ask my students to help me. This is another thing, just to finish. Of course, if we ask for help to other people, it may seem that we are very weak. But no, on the other hand, it seems that we are the same. We are all human beings. We have the same difficulties. We have the same expectations. So that's why we need to overcome the fear and go there and reach and go to our way.
And I just want to say that Elizabeth will be back here on Wednesday talking a lot more. And please bring your student because if there's any other technical difficulties, he will help as well.
Yes, yes.
And
Thank you,
thank
girls.
you, Elizabeth. See you Wednesday.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
See you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you all.
So for our next panel, we have how did I end up working with games? Our speaker is Juliana Brito, who is CEO and co-founder of Indie Hero, and she works with a lot of companies such as Empodera. She participates in the acceleration programs of Startup Farm, Innovation Brasil, and Shell Iniciativa Jovem. She's business mentor at events such as NASA Talks, Entrepreneurial DNA, Startup Weekend, and Innovation Brazil. Thank you for being here with us, Juliana, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Brenda. Hello, Julia. Nice to see you again. Always nice. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this awesome event. And I hope we can have a little talk. So I brought a presentation here, like I can share or I can just go talking,
No,
whatever you
share.
guys prefer.
You can share.
Okay. So we're gonna start sharing here. Hope I don't have any technical problems. Let me see if I can do that. Um, so, did it work?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. So everyone, hello. I'm Juliana Brito. I'm CEO and co-founder of Indie Hero, and nowadays I'm also CEO of Game Jam Plus. And I will also talk a little bit about the gaming market, especially here in Brazil and worldwide. But um, since we're doing this such a cool event, I thought to talk a little bit about my journey as a woman in technology and to tell how did I got to work with games and how was my path individually. And I also tell a little bit about the story about some other girls that I got to meet on the way. So thank you very much for inviting me for this talk. I will apologize. My slides are in Portuguese in the moment, but I will speak everything there is there, so there's be no problem. So let's go. So since little, I have shown aptitude to sports, to math, and also for like video games and being a nerd. So since I was a kid, I used to hear a lot in school that I was born in the wrong body. All my friends in school were boys, and I was to play with them around all the time, and I didn't have a lot of contact with girls. At the time, I thought nothing wrong about that. I received that as something nice that was being told to me all the time. Is saying like, oh, because they're telling that means that I'm really good in sports and I'm really good at math. I used to compete for the Brazilian team in swimming. And I also used to compete for my schools in the math Olympics. So of course, as I grew to be a teenager, it was not nice when people like it was never nice, but it was even worse when people would say that I was born in the wrong body because as was interested in boys. So if you were a boy, it's kind of like okay. If people are seeing me as a man, so as a teenager, like brilliant about everything, like I know what to do. I start to masculine, like to become more manly. I used to not pay attention as much in math. Um, so I didn't like I used to hide my grades, so the boys wouldn't see, so they wouldn't think I was a boy. I used also to so I did a lot of different things to try to be seen as a girl, what created a bunch of problems that I had to bring to therapy. But anyway, at the point, it seems like harmless to say that to a girl, nah? But I think my point here is not harmless. I think we should pay a lot of attention what we do say to our girls, so we can have more women doing tech, more women in games, because we have not as many of them, and we also do not have a lot of women doing business. As a kid, we are not incentivized to negotiate. We are not incentivized to take risks. Of course, to be a business owner and have a startup, you have to take risks all the time, and you have to kind of like those risks. And for us, women and girls, especially, we're like, no, don't do that, don't try that. Like, sit here, play with the doll. There's no problem play with the doll, but we should also do our sports. We should also we are able bodies. So I think that's the major point. That's where everything kind of started for me, when I thought like, okay, that's not that nice. So life goes on. I got in college for engineering. I decided to become electrical engineering. uh, I was the only girl in my class, and um, and I also decided I was the co-founder of the engineering sports organization inside my college. So I started organizing sports events, and I also was doing engineering. So again, I was surrounded by guys all the time. I didn't have like a lot of girls connections, which was pretty sad. But life goes on, and I got to do an exchange program with Germany. I do speak German. I lived in Germany for 4.5 years. There, I continued my degree in electrical engineering and did my master's in nanotechnology. Um, and and I was working in a lab, nanotechnology lab, and we had this kind of pump, like we had to do vacuum, like we had to do very high vacuum when you work with nanotechnology. That's the only way you can deposit the chemistry on where you need. So we have this pump, and this pump costed 150,000 euros, and it was like, whoo, very expensive pump. So I was doing my research. I was working my master's thesis, and like every lab in the world, doesn't matter if it's in Germany or in Brazil, we had some technical problems with the pump, of course. And also, like every country in the world, it's not just in Brazil that happens that. Instead of calling and the technical guy that is specialized in the pump, the lab wanted to spare some costs. That happens in Germany also, people. It's the same thing. And then my boss at the time, he looked at me and said, "Hey, you and Felix," he was my co-worker, said, "You and Felix, you guys are gonna fix the pump." And it was like, okay, that's a 150,000 euros pump. Let's fix it. With like, I do have a degree in electrical engineering. I do not have a degree in mechanical engineering. Like pumps are mechanical engineering. But anyway, we took the manual, like through 200, 300 pages manual, and we start like going through it and dismounting the pump. We did find a problem, we fixed it, and we were building the pump together more. So I was with the screws, I was making the screws tight by the roll. Like you go to where hard is, and then you do a quarter more. That's the mechanical roll of making very tight screws without screwing up. And then I went to get some other piece, and Felix was there, and he thought it was not tight enough. So he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a little bit more tighter." And something broke on the pump. It was a glass piece that was broken on the pump. And it was like, okay, that's a 1,500 euro pump, and we broke it. So I am a team worker through and through. I'm always in the team. And I was like, we're going to go outside this room, and we're going to tell our boss we broke 100,050 euros pump. And we're going to tell that we did it, because yes, it was not me, but he was my coworker. I wouldn't let him take the blame alone. No, like we were going to share that. And then we got out of the room and said, "Hey, boss, we broke 1,500 euros pump. Sorry." And then he looked at me and said, "That's what happens when we send a girl to do a man's job." And I got very pissed at the moment, and I looked at him and said, "Yeah, actually, Felix broke it. I was like 3 meters away from him when we broke it." And Felix, my coworker, said, yeah, it was me. And then he told me, and then he looked at me and told me, "I bet you were distracting him doing his job, and that's why he screwed up." And I was like, Okay, so that's this discrimination thing people talk about. That's where it gets through. Yes. Okay. So I had horrible experiences working with engineering in Germany altogether. The girls there follow the tech professions way less than here in Brazil. They are way less incentivized to do that. Here, I was the only girl in the class of 50, but there was 200 people in the class, and there was just four girls, me from Brazil, two from China, and one from Russia. So there was not one single German woman that was doing electrical engineering, 200 people. So it was like a horrible sensation. It was like, oh my God. Then there was the first time I started to think about like how hard it is to be a woman and have to hear such things, and how did that influence my career until that moment and that point. Um, you don't know that, but in Germany, when you work at some places, it's cultural that if you break something expensive, you have to do some cake or some pudding to apologize for that, because that's something they do. Um, and then I had to finish my master thesis. And in order to continue in the lab and finish my master's thesis that I have been working for 1 year, I had to bake a cake and apologize for something that I didn't never break. And it was one of the worst sensations of my life. Like I hate it through and through. Um, and then I started to, and then I decided, yeah, maybe I don't want to be an engineer. Like I don't want to live those kind of environments. I do not feel received here. It was better in Brazil, I can say that. Like Brazilians, we do a little bit better in something. I never felt this way in Brazil, or nobody said it to my face, but I do not know how many opportunities I lost because I was a girl and I was competing with the men. And then I tried, I decided, yes, I liked engineering. I didn't like it that much. I was always an entrepreneur at heart. So I thought, let's follow entrepreneurship. So I changed a man's career for another man's career. So I decided to become a businesswoman. And then I decided to become a businesswoman, but that experience stayed with me. And that's when I founded my first company, Workay. It was a tech company. It was a platform that connected construction workers with people that need some renovations inside the apartments. And then this company, I said, we're gonna prioritize women. So we start some courses and everything so the women could do those kind of jobs. No? But being an entrepreneur, I got in contact with some other woman that was also from the tech industry. So I got in contact, for example, with Anna. She is a UX designer and also a front-end developer. And then she was telling me when she working on her company, and then she has been working there for 3 years as a front-end developer. And for her team, at some point came a need for a UX designer. So there was a need that a designer could do better than the developers. And then she said, hey, I do have a degree in UX design, like from UFRJ, one of the major universities here in Brazil. And she said, and they said to her, you do not understand anything about that. You don't need to do that. So she was obviously the only girl on the whole team. And yeah, she was devastated. Like she was the only one on the team that really had a degree on it and actually studied it and have any chance of doing something about it. And then I heard about Lara. Lara was also working in another company, and she was also the only girl on the team. She was the IT infrastructure person, and then the whole team decided that they want to do like a get together in the end of the year, like let's do a get together for Christmas, super normal companies. And when they decided that, they gave all the organization of the event to Laura to do it, because they said it was a girl's job to do it. And she was like, I hate organization, like I suck at it. Like, and she said, and also the decoration for the party, she said, like, I have no talent for art. And they said, but you are a girl, so you have to do it, and also the case of Yasmin. Now, she's a full stack developer, and she was the only girl when she was coursing computer engineering. And then they have like going on bet on when the hot girl, the only hot girl, like she's pretty, like when the hot girl would give up the course. So there was betting on it. The whole class was betting on it. So I think like the whole way is made so we give up, and so we don't take risks. We are like, it is a hard way. I'm like, there's a lot of examples. It's a hard way. Like, that's a sentence from one of my favorite German bands, Die Ärzte. And es ist nicht deine Schuld, dass die Welt ist, wie die ist. Es wäre nur deine Schuld, wenn sie so bleibt. What does it mean? It means like, it's not our fault that the world's like that, but it will be our fault if it continues like that. So I think my point here is like, what did Anna do when she had this horrible experience? Nah? She fired herself because she refused to work for a company that really didn't see her values. And she started to look for companies that had this inclusion politics, and they were working on it. So Lara make a complaint to the HR, and because of her complaint, the HR had to do a new hiring policy for everyone in the company that would avoid this kind of problem in the future. So Yasmin, she went and founded a lot of get-togethers for girls called in Brazil. So GS Ladies, Women Who Go, Linux Chicks, Python Rio. So a lot of the game community, like the developers community for women, was founded by Yasmin. Like, my answer was to found Workay, like my first company, and prioritize women and train women. I don't know if you know, but 25% of the registered construction workers in Brazil are women, and we don't see them in the construction sites, just because they don't get the opportunity, and because construction companies do not want to do a man and a woman's bathroom. They say it's an extra cost. At the same time, you see that if you have women working at construction site, your accidents taxes reduced by almost 70%. So, and that's one of the major costs from construction companies. So there's no reason not to, cost is not a reason at the end of the day. So how about the game markets? No? Then after I founded this company, she's still going on, but I'm selling this company. And then I got inside games. I have always been a nerd, and I love the market. And I got a proposal to come and found Indie Hero. Indie Hero participated at Shark Tank Brazil. It was in the name of Game Jam Plus, and we have the Sharks as our partners in the moment. So it was a pretty cool thing. And after I was been running Indie Hero for about 2 years, my business partners also invite me to be the CEO for Game Jam Plus. I will talk a little bit about the two companies. So what's Indie Hero and Game Jam Plus? Game Jam Plus is the biggest world development marathon for games. We are the World Cup of games. And it is an NGO that has that wants to democratize the game developing in the world. So these are huge markets, but when you see LATAM, when you see Africa and South Asia, you see they just take 1% of this market. but we are 25% of the consumers. So that's no reason that since we're consuming this product, why we're not producing it and making money with it. A little bit, we have run Game Jam Plus for 7 years. There's a community of more than 10,000 developers. More than 1,200 games were made with us. We are in 35 countries around the world, 100 cities. And also Indie Hero is an acceleration program for more mature studios. And we have about 200 studios with us. And since I am me, like, I think that's something that I can also continue doing. Every single company that I will do will have some social impact, and will also look to the woman in this niche, or in this. I think my experience shaped me that I cannot do a business without some women focus anymore. Like, I just can't even think about the business model. So we are aligned with the ODS 4, 5, 8, and 9. And we do work. There are some game jams that are just for women, like the women game jams. They're the biggest in the world. And we do work with the organizers, with the local organizers of the Women Game Jam. We love to work with them. And we are one of the biggest game jams in the world that actually has like 30% of women participating. And that's something we want to, like, at some point, to get this number even higher. We are always looking like to do inclusive game jams, and especially include women, because I just think the market gets more diverse. And actually, there's a lot of research that shows that the more diverse a company is, the more revenue this company is going to make. And there's also another research that shows that companies run by women, they do have 10% more revenue than companies run by men. So I think I'm putting arguments with numbers here. I'm not saying like I feel like, or I think, like that's a reality. And even though that's a reality, women get just 70% of the investments that is made in the world, even though our companies bring more revenue. So what's the problem, people? Like, what are you doing? So the way is very hard, and up to us to change that. Just like we shouldn't say the way is very hard, so we're gonna give up. And no, the way is very hard, so we're gonna change the way. So that's the way. That's how I found how to change the environment around me, and to make these environments more inclusive, so other women don't have to have such a harsh experience as I have. And I didn't have like the worst experience. Like, there are some women there in the tech industry, the game industry, that have way worse experience than me. I think it's up to us to change that. So I know I'm almost over my time. Just going to be very fast. Like Carol Caravana, she's a game developer. She's now vice president of Abra Games, that's the Brazilian Games Association. And she got inside that. She was an artist. She started developing. And when she got in contact with Abra Games, she saw there was no women there. So she created a diversity committee there, and helped us. And at some point, she became the vice president of this huge game association. So Janine was also a developer. She was not feeling included as a developer. She was almost dropping out of college. And then she decided to get in contact with those groups of women, and she became one of the Women's Game Jam local organizers. And now she's a local organizer also from Game Jam Plus. She has been working with us, trying to bring way more women inside. So Mafalda, nowadays, she's from Portugal. She's a huge name in Women in Games. That's another another movement that's run by the world. So she's Women in Games, and she's helping all these important women games to get some space in all kind of events and everything. It's like Indie Hero organized a lot of events. We were inside Rock in Rio, like this major event. Rio Innovation Week was also a major event. And we always have we have to put so many women on the stage because they do have a lot to talk about. So I think that's our answer, and that's the answer of some women that I know through the answer they gave. So I just wanted to share how the women in their own environment, they change it the way they could. Like you don't have to go and open a company or something, or open an institution. You can just change the hiring politics of your own company. But that's something we will have to change. So that's what our answer to everything. I think the other point I have to leave here is how we talk with our girls. Like let's stop calling them pretty. When they're kids, when they do something nice, they're pretty. Let's start calling them like courageous. Let's calling them intelligent. Let's call them awesome. Let's complement the effort and everything, because we want to introduce this growth mindset to the girls. So let's complement the efforts. Like if they did that and if they got and tried, and they will try again. So I think that's an easy answer to say to everything like that. It's like everybody can do that. We can all stop calling our small nieces pretty all the time. There's nothing wrong with that, but we can also call them courageous. We can also help them take risk and jump from high places and everything. Like women can also do all these cool things. And I want to leave the talk with a question for everyone. So that's our answer. So what's going to be your answer to everything that we said today? So what are you going to do to change this environment? So I hope you have some questions if we have time.
Yes, we have one question. Actually, it's my question, and we were talking. You said about women in gaming that it's already like a really rare thing that programmers and women in gaming in general. But if you're a woman, you have a gaming studio, you have a gaming startup, the difficulty to get investment and partners and venture capital, it's going to be a lot harder. And do you have an advice, a tip?
It's hard to say that, but there is some tips. There's some movements, some funds that are looking to that, just because the numbers are there. So they want to invest in girls because it's a better deal. So we should look for those opportunities. There are some funds just for that. For game studios, you should talk to me because I have a game accelerator, and I do love to have women as CEO in my game accelerator. And we do business rounds with publishers and investors. So I would love to have you participate. We are open right now, the subscriptions to our acceleration program this year. So indiehero.io, you can go there and subscribe if you have a game company. I would love to meet you. So that's one thing. Another thing that I find that helps a lot of women, while a woman that worked, do not depend on investors. Do a business that you are already on the blue from the first day. So sell something, so maybe it will not be from upfront just the most technology thing that needs a lot of investment to do. But my construction company, my platform for construction, we did 2 million reais in sales there. And we did only have to put 4,000 reais of our pockets on the business. So because we are selling as we're going. We didn't even have money to hire a design to do our name. So we sold the 3 services so we could get the money to hire the design and have a name. So just sell something that you do not need an investor to do it. And there's a lot of good business you can do with that. So that's another thing. Another thing is, unfortunately, I have to say that is the way that you do have to be in a position of power sometimes to change some things that are harder. So have a business partner that's a man. That's unfortunately something that also helps. And I do have business partners that are men, and sometimes I send them to do the job, but at some point, but then I'm in position of power to empower other women in my acceleration program. So then I can like sell this company and just invest in women as a woman investor. So I will only be able to do that when I have like the money and the conditions to do that. So we get there, and like all is game, like all the rules are done, like we do what we have to do to get there and do not find excuses, because there are a lot of ways to find excuses. So we just do it and we just get there, and then we change what we can change during the way, and then after the way, and in the new way. Yeah, that's that.
Well, thank you so much, Juliana, for being here, for sharing a bit of your experience, of your knowledge with us, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you like it. Hope it was not too fast. Bye.
Well, for the next presentation, we have the co-founders of Girl Up Elsa's project, and we have Amanda Menezes, who is Elsa's executive director. She is also a communication student at UFRJ and intern at Girl Up Brazil. We also have Beatriz Diniz. She's COO of Elsa's chemical engineering student at UFRJ and public health intern at Fiocruz. We also are going to have Gabriela Machado, who is Elsa's CFO. She's business student at UFRJ and also data analyst intern at HUB. Thank you, girls, and the floor is yours.
Are you listening me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity, really. So my name is Amanda. I'm 20 years old. I live in Rio de Janeiro, and I'm one of the leaders of the ELSES, which we'll explain later on. Today we are going to talk about menstrual poverty and our struggle for menstrual poverty in Brazil. To start, I would like to explain what menstrual poverty is. The menstrual poverty is when someone doesn't have pets, but not just this, is too when one girl or person who menstruates needs information about their menstrual cycle or has no sanitary conditions. If one girl doesn't have pets to go to school, what will she do in this situation? She can stay in home for 3 or 5 days. Now think about it. If she does this in the time span of 1 year, how many days did she miss class? And we can go to another example. One woman needs to go to job, but in a job she can't miss, right? So she used paper, newspaper, and even a tree leaf to go to the job. And this causes infections and disease. That's why when we talk about menstrual poverty, we understand that this is a public health problem. And these examples are just some of the ways that menstrual poverty affects the person that menstruates. Now I would like to invite Bia and Gabi to continue with your speech. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bia. I am 21 years old. I am a chemical engineer major in the Federal University of Rio, and I'm here to talk about how we as a group united ourselves to solve that problem that Amanda just explained. And first of all, I need to explain a concept that we have here in Brazil. The literally translation of that would be basic basket. So it is a basket where you have essential items to a person to live through a whole month. So you have sugar, you have rice, you have toilet paper, you have oil. And normally those baskets are handed out by NGOs, handed out by the government, and handed out by companies. And they're giving to people in need. So our story begins in the first month of the pandemics when we had NGOs giving those baskets to people in vulnerability, and we saw that those baskets did not include menstrual pads, one of the essential items. And we know that people who are struggling with menstrual poverty, they need those pads. So we start a fundraising and we raise money to buy pads so we can give to those NGOs, and then they could include on those baskets. And the campaign was really successful. We have a lot of good outcomes of it. We help more than 1,000 girls and women that menstruate here in our city, but we knew that the pandemic was not even close to be done. We knew that girls and women menstruate every month, so we need to replicate that campaign to several months, but we didn't have the manpower to do so. We didn't have ways to replicate that every month because it took a lot of our time. We took a lot of work to do it. So we talked about it internally and realized that that was the government responsibility, and we should present that. We should present a proposition for them so they could help in that quest. So at first we need to study legislation because we didn't know who represented us. We didn't know how politics work in general. So we did a lot of study, and we need to find who were our congressmen, who were our congresswomen, and we need to have their contacts. So we made a long list of possible candidates that we should try, and then we send those messages to them, presenting ourselves like, "Hi, my name is Bia, I'm a young leader, and I have this problem here in our state, and we have a proposition for you. So would you like to schedule a meeting? Would you like to talk about so we can solve this problem?" And at first, just a few of them replied us. They didn't they didn't realize how important this problem it was. They at first didn't care. So to those ones that replied us, we talked to them and scheduled those meetings. But at the end, just one congressman was really interested in helping us and seeing our value as leaders who are doing impact here in our city. So he said to us, "I'm going to help you guys, but you need to write the bill." At first, it was a shock because we didn't know how to write a bill. We didn't know what format to use. We didn't know what was the language that we should put on it. We didn't know how was the legal process of it, but we united ourselves. We talked about a lot of this process together and did a really deep research to achieve that. So in the end, we present our bill to that congressman. He sent to our House of Representatives, and it went through the whole legal process of it. And in the end, our bill was approved unanimously in that house, and the state of Rio de Janeiro became the first state to have a legislation that includes menstrual pads in those baskets, and we became pioneers on that topic, and we helped and started a movement of other girls that wanted to replicate that in their cities, in their states. And we talked to them, we explained how we did, and encourage and empower other girls to do it so. And right now in Brazil, we have more than 60 projects and laws already approved about that topic, about solving and mitigating menstrual poverty here in our country. And we are really happy to be pioneers in that topic and bringing light to a theme that was really not talked about before. And that's our story, and that's what we did. And we have here in our presentation, we handing out those menstrual pads, and another photo here of Gabi writing, holding our bill in the front of the House of Representatives in the state of Rio.
Well, guys, I was too young in this picture. So, firstly, ELSAs do not only work with menstrual poverty. I'm Gabriela, I'm 20 years old, and I study management at Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and I work with data analysis. But, well, all of us here had our lives impacted by the project. Girls from underprivileged areas being confident to be here presenting the project in English, occupying these speech spaces, it's an achievement. And talking about ELSAs, we are an organization that aims to develop and train girls between the ages of 14 and 21 living in the northeast part of the city of Rio de Janeiro so that they can become leaders who positively impact their community. And through conversation circles, social actions, and campaigns, they can transform their potential into power and impact the lives of dozens of people in needy institutions, in public schools, and a lot of other spaces. Well, in the pictures, we can see our girls working in these spaces, and Amanda was making part of one of your campaigns. It's A Seu Voto Importa. It's in English, it's Your Vote Matters, which contributed to the 2022 presidential election being the youngest in history. So we had a lot of actions to putting these girls on these action spaces so they can act and improve themselves. So with many of our actions being publicized by the Brazilian media, we managed to form partnerships with companies, and now we are structuring our first training program, which intends to directly impact around 300 people. And if you want to be part of this transformation history that we are building, we invite you to learn more about our work and contact us for possible partnerships. These are our social networks, and let me see. I think you can pass this slide. Next one, please. So this is our social medias, and you can, these are our social networks, and any support will be welcome in this new stage. And we are so grateful about this opportunity to be here, to be explaining about our project. And it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure for us to be here and introduce ourselves to you, to everyone. So it's about this year project. Be welcome to be contacting us. And this is Elsa's.
Thank you so much, girls. Your project is truly amazing. I already knew your project because we won the Edson Luis Award together. I was there when you won because we won as well. So I have a question here, and due to the type of project you have, do you feel that men feel sensitized or to invest in a project like this, or do you think they reject this kind of projects? That's the first question. Can you hear me? Hello?
I will answer. At first, years ago when we started, when we wrote our bill, menstrual poverty was a topic that was not talked about, and people didn't know the ways that impacts a girl's and women's life. And in that time, it was difficult to be heard about this topic. But I think in nowadays, with all the progress that we've done, in all the newspaper highlights that this topic had, I think that it is a more open topic, and I think right now we have more men involving in this process and seeing that this is a really important topic to be solved, and we have still how can I say it? We have a little bit of shame to talk about our periods, and we have this in our society. But I think he's moving on, and I think we're being open more about this topic.
And I would like to add that talk about menstrual periods and this side of the topic. It's a taboo topic here in Brazil, so it's difficult to talk about it with women in general. So talk about it with men is even more difficult. They don't even know how it works. Let's just say that. And we have a comment here from Maria from that this project would be a fantastic in Uruguay. So she's saying that this experience is very similar in that as well. So that's a new country that you can explore as well. And I would like to thank you all for this amazing presentation, for introducing us to this amazing project. And I will certainly call you again for the next Shift Stack, because I think we have a lot more to discuss this topic. And thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Amanda. And thank you, Gabriela, for your participation here and for this amazing presentation.
We thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, really, thank you.
So grateful to be here, Julia. Thank you.
We have one more guest. It's a surprise guest because she was not in our first draft for the program, but she's coming with us actually not live because she's away. And Sabrina Ginga will send us a little video with her presentation because she could not be here live with us. And Sabrina is an influencer. She's an artist. She is an ambassador. She is a social scientist, and she's here with us to talk a little bit more about how Samba and how about culture can influence women.
I'm sorry. Hello, everybody. How you doing? I hope you're well. So I'm Sabrina Ginga. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I'm here to invited Usina de Startup. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you in this week. In the event X Plus Tech. I'm very fascinated about technology, and I'm very glad, very proud to be here in this event. So, like I said before, I'm Sabrina. I'm Brazilian. Sorry, because English is not my native language. My native language is Portuguese, but I try to talk to you in English and explaining myself and my passions. Like I said before, I'm from here. This is very important information for this talking, because in my life, Rio, it's my place. It's my special place, and something about Rio, what happens here, is very important for me, like a person, for my identity, for my choices, for my work, and for my life. And I choose this to work with, to work on, and to keep my life and walk with me. I don't know if you means, but you will understand and hold this talk. We don't have so many times. We don't have so many time, but I will try to explain you everything I can, maximum I can, okay? I'm a dancer, and I study science social at the university. So I mix those things, dance, art, and sociology and anthropology. And of course, Rio de Janeiro, that it is where I take my inspiration. And how you see, I'm a Black woman, and this is make a lot of difference in my speech, in my life, in my choices. But here today, I'm here to speak about Carnival, about Rio de Janeiro Carnival. I will speak Rio de Janeiro a lot of times in this time, okay? So I'm here to speak about Rio de Janeiro Carnival, specifically about Samba School Carnival from Rio de Janeiro. I'm from the traditional Samba schools. I imagine that people they are outside Brazil is gonna participate in, listen, and see this lecture. So in Brazil, I would do very fast. So you have to research if you want to know more. In Brazil, we have a carnival. Carnival is a very, very important moment in our culture. And in Rio de Janeiro is very special. We have 3 big carnivals: Rio de Janeiro, Salvador, and Recife. But the carnival happens around the country, different ways, different manifestation, cultural manifestation, different music, but with the same base, but they happen differently. The most similar is Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo. But Rio de Janeiro is the biggest, it's the huge carnival. And we have different ways to enjoy in carnival, to celebrate carnival. But the very important information here that is, the carnival we know nowadays, the carnival we know now, the carnival we have now, it's from Black people, the music, the customs, the way to do, the way to think. It's about Black Brazilian folks. Maybe we distort this information around the whole time about carnival, but carnival, it is about Black Brazilian folks. So Brazilian is the second country with people. The first of all is Nigeria, and the second of all is Brazil. So Black folks here is very important. Is in the whole, of course, we have some folks of native people from here, and of course we have folks about European people who invited these lands, but the most of it is about Black people because we are the largest population. I think you understand. Let's go. Sorry about my English. I'm not native English person, but I will try to explain it. And so come back me and come back carnival. I'm a person, I'm a Black woman, very involved with Black folks because the same proportion that we so important for this country, we also very destroy it for this country. the racism in Brazil, they very aggressive. Is very, very, very aggressive. We are in the line of poverty, of violence, of death, of the worst thing in the society happens with Black people. And also the best things, the best signs, the best culture, not culture, no, the best things happen in Brazil. The best, what you know about Brazil is about Black folks, but you don't know about it. So, because of this, me and some friend of mine created a collective. We are the collective of Black women discuss racism, machismo in the Samba world. But I don't know if you know what it is Samba. And I don't know if you know what it is Samba schools. So Samba is a rhythm, is a dance, is a culture created here in Brazil, originally from Brazil, and building make it for Black people, folks. The beginning of Samba, historically, it's confusing. We don't know if it start in Bahia, the first capital to Brazil, or here in Rio de Janeiro, the second capital in Brazil, or if they start here because people from Bahia moved to Rio in some time of history, and they start Samba. We don't know. We discuss this. If you want to really know, you research about it. But Samba is a rhythm, is a dance, is a culture, very important in Brazil, in culture of Brazil, and very important here in Rio de Janeiro. Second of all, Samba schools. What is Samba schools? Samba schools means really what they want to mean, Samba schools. In Samba schools, we're talking about it. Black folks, Black history, Black rights, Black music, Black behaviors. We talking about Black people because Samba school start for Black people. Black people used to meeting for the music and dance. This is the way they find to survive. They found to keep your culture about Africa, the continent, the African continent. So the people meeting and was created things, creating music, creating dancing, created symbolizes, creating things and transforming it in another, in new things. And Samba schools begin like this, begin about meeting, about keeping moving a culture, keeping moving the way how move, the way how they play, the music, and of course, this was prohibited. We can't do Samba before. Like 150 years ago, Samba was prohibited. We can't do it. You can be rest if you do Samba, if you play Samba, if you play capoeira, if you dance Samba, if you dance capoeira, you can be rest. 100 years ago, like 150 years ago, you can be do this. Nowadays, you can be rest, but maybe you're not so trust person nowadays, keeping like this. Of course, we have so much proud about it. You have so much visibility around the samba, around the carnival, but keeps don't the people don't take serious what we do, what we are, and what we can do about our culture and our choices, like Black people and like Black folks. But it's okay. Come back. These issues is very deeply, so I will go and come back sometimes, okay? But I try to resume this in 30 minutes. So, okay. Samba schools, what are these Samba schools? So Samba schools, we created and continue Samba school to tell a history, to tell our history, Black people history, because the history of Brazil don't tell our histories. The books don't tell our histories. The television don't tell our history. The people who in power in this culture don't tell our history. White people don't tell our history. They don't care about our history, our folks, our beliefs, our religion. They don't care about it. So we created Samba schools to tell these stories, to tell how we survive so much pain, so much terrible things. We created this how a tool for response every bad things happen here. So, and this was the first Samba school has like 110, 120 years old. And they begin like this with some people connect for the first, and I think the first Wi-Fi connections. I think the music, the instrument, but for me, more drums. The drums are the first Wi-Fi in the world. The drums connect people. Music connect people. Dance connect people. Connect deeply away, the deeper way. So the drums, the music, the samba music connect people, connect about the music, connect about the dance, and connect about the history. So we start this for tell our history, well, like how I said before. And the drums connect these people and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And now it's huge. We made up a lot of things and we did a great, incredible this. I will show you how some schools nowadays. Let me share here. Here. Now we have floats. Very good. And now I show you how this happened, like 1950s, for example. This is a samba dancer in 1950. Here is a samba dancer that we call passistas. Passista who are dance the danças, the samba dance, who represent the samba dance. I'll show you right now the samba dance. On the possibilities of samba dance. We can spend a lot of time show you interesting things. Let's come back. So this is samba dance, this is samba schools, but samba schools is a huge thing. I think I need maybe 1 month of class to show you everything. And if you don't know the carnival from Rio de Janeiro, I invited you to know, research more about it, and come to see personally, because it has a lot of things incredible. So, like I've been saying here, and how you can imagine, I'm very passionate about this culture. I'm very passionate about this. And me and a friend of mine, we created a collective to discuss racism and machismo in carnival, in samba schools places. Of course, we discuss about this in a whole society, but we decide to choose to specifically place the samba schools, because the samba schools talking about Black people, talking about Black folks, talking about our history, our proud, our special things, and how we are diamonds, how we are important. But the racism and machismo, they kill some things and they ruin some things. We are in this society where those things are very potent on this, is very present, we can run away about racism or machismo. We can't run away of this. They structural, so we can run away. And we decide to create this collective who call it Samba Pretinha. We are 4 Black women discuss racism and machismo. We start this because one of us, Mirna Moreira, she studied medicine at the university, and she was participating something about it, the most beautiful girl in the medicine place. And her photo was to the Facebook, and she suffered hater. It's not hater, it's racism, because she received a phrase like comments like, I'll read it for you guys. Like, but here everything is sorry. It's hard for me to see this. Like, how you attend someone with this hair? And like, what is this monkey doing in a medicine university? So after those things, we decide create a safe space to talking about those things, about these isms in a society. We had I don't know if I have here. No, I don't. I don't have to share. We decided to discuss those things in Samba schools because in certain moments, Samba schools is about poetry, is about how we can do things better, about the beauty, about the music, about the dance. But we lost some about discuss about theoric things. Of course, this happened because machismos, because racism don't give us voice and don't take us seriously. They don't take us seriously. They don't take what we do seriously. So we lost this power of voice, of talking about it. So the Samba Pretinha comes to discuss in the Samba schools, we talk with women, we talk with our young women about those things, because the regular schools, they don't talk about it. They don't allow to talk about racism. They don't allow to talk about machismo. They allow only to tell a history that sometimes not true, that sometimes not happen, that sometimes the truth it is not so clearly, So we created this project to talk about women's in Samba schools and talk with women's, young women's, old women's, all the women's about this. Our first meeting, our first event was the most important because we had a young audience, but we have to women experienced humans from Carnival, sharing history, sharing how they live and how they deal with to be a Black woman in Brazil. For example, one of them is a lady with like 50 years old, 50 something years old. And she shared with us that when her was younger, her was in sub school, like passista, dancing. And her dating boyfriend, I don't remember. Her boyfriend was with the drums on summer school. He was player in summer school, but he looked at her at the house because he don't want that she goes to the samba school to dance. He can play, but her can dance because she's a woman, because she don't have value if she dance, if she do whatever she wants. So, and we have some young girls sharing about the doubts in being in a samba schools, because samba schools is not, wasn't, now I think nowadays is more special, is more recognized. But before, the samba school is not recognized, it's recognized only on the carnival time. But the end of carnival, what do you do? You work with carnival, only this, you dance, you want to dance. So we receive this kind of commentary, this type of thoughts about us and about our bodies and about our projects and about who we are. So the Samba Pretinha born to discuss this, to discuss with the women's, with the men's, of course, about our situation in samba school and in society. The Samba Pretinha, it's a project and very, very incredible, and has a very power, because we discuss and we dance in the end. We start our meeting, we discuss, we debate about some things, and about racism and machismo and everything about this. And we end the meeting with a dance class, of course, because we are in samba school. So we have to talk, we have to dance, we have to play, we have to be happy in there, because samba schools begins to keep Black people alive, Black people alive, Black people passion about the life, because the world won't kill us, but we need to keep alive, and we need to keep here doing beautiful things, doing beautiful ways to live and to understand the world about another's perspective. And the Samba schools comes to provide, to keep on the proud of Black folks. And our project comes to affirm this. Sorry, it's the time's the end. I think I don't have more time. So I'd like to thank you. I really hope that you understand what I mean. It's difficult for me doing this in English, but I hope that you enjoy it, that you get information, that you have some recognize you. And if you wanna talk to me more, please find me on Instagram, Sabrina Ginga, or talk to me about my through my email. It's contact@sabrinaginga.com. But I think it's easily talk to me on Instagram, Sabrina Ginga. Sabrina Ginga. It's the same Instagram on the flyer of the event. So bye, people. Nice to meet you, and I hope you enjoy to be with me. And let's go. Bye-bye, women. Keeping power, focus, strong, but not strong at all. Keep being yourselves. Do whatever you want to do. Think about yourself. Okay? Bye-bye.
Well, guys, I want to thank you all for staying here, like during all this day and this first day of the event. We all learned a lot and discussed it, like different and very important themes related to entrepreneurship, women empowerment, and innovation. And I will take the opportunity to be here and mediate this event with Julia. And I'd like to also thank all the amazing women that spoke here today, and also invite you all to join us tomorrow on the second day of Shipos Tech event, highlighting that all the lectures are going to be in Portuguese, and I'm sure that will be as great as was today. And also ask you to follow Usina de Startup in all our social medias like Instagram, LinkedIn, also Facebook and YouTube. And thanks again, and have a good afternoon, everyone.
And I will also like to thank Elizabeth Castilho, Angelique Williams, Priscilla Menezes, Amanda, Beatriz, and Gabriela from Elsa's Project, Juliana Brito, and Sabrina Ginga. And just to say that Sabrina won't be able to answer your question because she wasn't live. She sent us a video with her talk, and that's why we won't be able to answer your question. But again, thank you so much for being here today, and tomorrow we have a lot more. Also, all the days of the week we will be here. Not me and Brenda will be on the behind the stage from now on, but we have another. We will have many more amazing co-hosts and hosts for this Shipos Tech Week. And see you tomorrow. Thank you, Brenda.